About a year ago, I went to a concert in Anaheim with some of my friends. We waited 9 hours in line and even spent an extra $120 just to get as close to barricade as we could. We weren't the only ones this determined to get up close to this band, as hundreds of others were doing exactly what we were doing. I remember the doors finally opening for showtime, and all of us waiting in the pit in anticipation, because our wait was finally over. But I remember when the lead singer stepped out on stage, and the first strum of a guitar could be heard by our ears, that immediately people around us started pulling out their phones. All of us had spent so much time and money to be here because we know that watching a performance on YouTube just isn't the same as watching it in person. Yet some of us ended up recording almost the entire show, and thinking back, I can't help but ask what the difference is between watching something online and being there to experience it, when either way we're letting a screen hover in front of our face the entire time. Technology, the tool created for connection, is starting to create a disconnection between ourselves and the world around us. Without even knowing it, many of us are trading in our experiences for our smartphones, our human touch to be on our touch screens, because we've decided to perceive our world through these screens instead of just living in the moment. Perhaps this is because we live in a world of convenience. Our lives are much more fast-paced than ever before. It takes only one click for an abundance of information to appear right in the palm of our hands. Roughly 200 million photos are posted on Facebook every day, and 1.5 photos posted on Instagram every second. Memes aside, most of the content posted on our social media pages consists of documentations of our daily lives. Photos and videos of a night out with friends, a dazzling fireworks display, or say, a fight that broke out on campus. What I've noticed, though, is that many of us feel the need to record every exciting moment in our lives. Even I find myself wanting to pull out my phone whenever something remotely interesting happens. But by doing so, I stop living in the moment, and instead, my life becomes more about collecting memories and storing them conveniently away in a cell phone instead of embracing life as it is. Researchers from Vanderbilt University discovered that there is a universal attentional bottleneck that temporarily limits certain functions such as perceptual encoding. This basically means that our brains don't have the sufficient processing power to fully analyze all of the information it receives from our senses. When we're too distracted trying to find the perfect angle for a shot or the perfect moment to record a video, we make it even harder on ourselves to focus on the moment and remember it. Living in the moment isn't just another cliche. Living in the moment provides us better recall of an experience so that we can look back on a memory instead of relying on a photo to remember what happened. What's worse, however, is that we're not just missing out on life's moments, we're also disconnecting from one of the greatest things life has to offer, people. Now, I know some of us may not agree with that statement and instead argue that people are the worst things about life, but bear with me for these next couple of points. Conversation quality is worsening in our worlds. Emily Drago conducted a study that showed that despite knowing that technology negatively affects conversation quality, closeness, and connection, 62% of people still decided to use their phones in the presence of others. Not only is conversation quality deteriorating, but the frequency of us conversing is decreasing as well. In the US, 5 times as many texts are sent compared to calls made. So from what we've gathered from this, many of us are not calling as much, let alone conversing, because texting is such an accessible option. And when we do talk face-to-face, conversation quality is ruined because we don't know how to put our phones away and we can't give the other person our full attention. Now, of course I'm guilty of this as well. I'm a teenager. Texting is a social crutch I rely on when I feel awkward in public or when I don't want to talk to someone. But I've come to realize the importance of putting our phone down and listening to the other person, listening to the tone of their voice, watching their facial expressions, because those are things you can't do when you resort to texting. Now, I'm not saying that we should never use our phones for anything. I think it's pretty powerful that we're able to capture a moment or send a message in seconds with this technology that we have. However, we should take time to reflect on how often we use our smartphones and maybe consider using them a little less if they're interfering with our lives. I don't know about you, but I want to be present. I want to be able to focus on who or what's in front of me and truly learn how to listen. I mentioned earlier that one of the greatest things about life is people, and I truly believe that. It's through people that we learn. It's through the ones who inspire us or the ones who piss us off that we're spurred to take action. People hurt us, but people also show us how to love, how to be kind. People challenge us to see things from a different perspective. Now, you can go to your phones for information, but none of our smartphones can do any of what I just listed that people can do. If we choose to disconnect ourselves from each other, we're missing out on unique experiences that can only be learned from talking to each other. Jana Thompson stated that being in the presence of something that causes you these feelings is part of the pleasure. Value living life in the moment. Value being in the presence of other people because there's always something that can be learned. That's exactly why we're gathered here today, because we know that there are ideas that can be offered that our phones can't offer us. At the end of the day, I can't tell you what to do with your phones. I can't condemn you for texting and not listening to what I'm saying, but I asked you to reflect on how you use your smartphones and how often you use them. While our phones can hold more knowledge than any of us ever could, there's no photo or video that can completely capture an experience, no text message that can replicate the depth of human emotion and thought other than when we're interacting with them. To conclude, you've just listened to 17 speakers and 17 amazing ideas. But let me tell you that it doesn't take a TEDx event or a smartphone to learn something new. If you look around, there are so many good ideas and good experiences just waiting to happen. Thank you.